They laughed when you were ignored. They stayed silent when your voice was buried under doubt. The same people who watched you struggle from a distance suddenly changed their tone. The game shifted. The energy changed. The doors that looked permanently locked started opening one after another. What seemed impossible yesterday became reality today. The world has a strange habit of respecting strength only after it becomes impossible to deny. And when powerful forces begin standing beside the very person they once overlooked, everyone starts asking the same question. What happened overnight that made everything flip upside down? Funny thing about people, they have a talent for overlooking greatness when it's still under construction. They walk past potential every single day without recognizing it. They judge the unfinished version. They laugh at the struggle, mock the process, and dismiss the dream because they can't see what's coming. If success doesn't arrive instantly, they assume it never will. If power isn't visible yet, they act like it doesn't exist. And while they're busy making those assumptions, something dangerous is quietly happening behind the scenes. Most people only respect results. They don't respect the sleepless nights. They don't respect the sacrifices. They don't respect the endless hours spent learning, failing, improving, and trying again. They only pay attention when the scoreboard changes. Before that moment, you are invisible. Before that moment, your ideas sound ridiculous. Before that moment, your confidence looks like arrogance to people who lack vision. The world has always been fascinated by finished products and completely blind to the process that creates them. That's why so many people get discouraged. They expect support at the beginning. They expect recognition while they're still climbing. They expect applause when they're putting in the work, but applause rarely comes during construction. Nobody gathers around an empty stage. Nobody celebrates a victory that hasn't happened yet. Most people wait until the evidence becomes impossible to deny. Until then, they remain spectators, critics, doubters, and observers. What makes this even stranger is how quickly opinions can change. The same people who questioned your abilities suddenly become interested in your journey. The same voices that once laughed begin speaking with respect. The same individuals who acted like you didn't matter suddenly want to know how you did it. Nothing about your value changed overnight. Your value was there the entire time. The only thing that changed was their ability to see it. People often confuse visibility with worth. They think something only becomes valuable when everyone notices it. But gold remains gold whether it's buried underground or displayed in a glass case. A diamond doesn't become precious when someone discovers it. It was precious long before anyone found it. The same principle applies to human potential. Recognition does not create value. Recognition reveals value that already existed. The truth is, many people cannot recognize strength until it produces undeniable results. They need proof. They need numbers. They need evidence. They need a crowd agreeing with them before they feel comfortable changing their opinion. Independent thinking is rare. Following the majority is easy. That's why people often ignore greatness in its early stages and celebrate it later as if they always believed in it. And while all of this is happening, there is another game being played beneath the surface. Every rejection becomes experience. Every setback becomes education. Every criticism becomes fuel. Every obstacle sharpens focus. What others interpret as failure is often preparation. What they see as weakness is frequently the foundation of future strength. The person they underestimate today is quietly becoming someone they won't be able to ignore tomorrow. The most powerful transformation is not when the world starts believing in you. The most powerful transformation happens when you continue believing in yourself while nobody else does. That is where resilience is born. That is where confidence becomes real. That is where character is forged under pressure, because anyone can stay motivated when they are receiving praise, attention, and support. The real test appears when none of those things exist and you keep moving anyway. Eventually, there comes a moment when the results become too large to dismiss, too visible to ignore, too obvious to deny. The people who overlooked you begin paying attention. The people who doubted you begin reassessing their opinions. The people who underestimated you start realizing they misjudged the situation from the very beginning. Suddenly, the individual they ignored becomes the individual everyone is watching. Power has a strange personality. It doesn't chase excuses. It doesn't reward wishful thinking. It doesn't care about how many people doubted you, how unfair life has been, or how many obstacles stood in your way. Power moves towards strength, and strength is proven through action. Not words, not promises, not intentions. Action. The world has always followed this rule even when people pretend otherwise. Many individuals spend years waiting for opportunities, believing someone will eventually recognize their potential and hand them a chance to succeed. They wait for validation. They wait for approval. They wait for permission. Meanwhile, the people who rise above the crowd understand something different. They know that influence is rarely given. It is earned. Respect is rarely offered freely. It is built through consistency. Authority is not created by titles alone. It is created by results that become impossible to ignore. The fascinating part is how quickly attention shifts once strength becomes visible. When someone is struggling, few people pay attention. Their ideas are questioned. Their abilities are doubted. Their ambitions are criticized. But when they begin producing results, the entire atmosphere changes. Suddenly people become curious. Suddenly doors start opening. Suddenly conversations sound different. Not because the person became someone new overnight, but because their strength finally became visible enough for others to recognize. Human nature has always been drawn to evidence. Most people do not believe in potential until it transforms into reality. They do not trust predictions until they see proof. They do not respect confidence until it is backed by achievement. This is why powerful individuals focus less on convincing others and more on developing themselves. They understand that arguments rarely change minds, but results often do. There is a reason influence gathers around competence. People naturally move toward individuals who demonstrate reliability, discipline, and effectiveness. They trust those who consistently perform under pressure. They follow those who solve problems instead of creating them. They listen to those who have earned credibility through repeated success. Proven strength creates gravity. It attracts attention without begging for it. It commands respect without demanding it. What makes this reality uncomfortable is that many people want the rewards of strength without the process required to build it. They admire confidence but avoid challenges. They desire influence but resist responsibility. They want recognition but refuse discipline. Yet every meaningful form of power is connected to competence. Every lasting form of authority is connected to value. Every significant opportunity tends to flow toward those who have demonstrated they can handle it. The strongest people are often misunderstood during their development phase. While others see setbacks, they see lessons. While others focus on temporary failures, they focus on long-term growth. While others become discouraged by obstacles, they become stronger because of them. Strength is rarely created in comfort. It is usually forged in uncertainty, pressure, and adversity. The very experiences most people try to avoid are often the same experiences that create resilience. That is why powerful individuals often appear calm during difficult situations. They understand that challenges reveal character. Pressure exposes weaknesses but also uncovers strengths that might otherwise remain hidden. Every difficult moment becomes an opportunity to prove capability. Every obstacle becomes a test of commitment. Every setback becomes a chance to develop qualities that cannot be learned through comfort alone. The world may not immediately recognize the process, but it always notices the outcome. Eventually, discipline becomes skill, skill becomes performance, becomes credibility, credibility becomes influence, and influence attracts opportunities, resources, partnerships, and support. The momentum begins slowly, almost invisibly, before accelerating in ways that appear sudden to outside observers. People often call it luck when they witness the final result. They see the success but miss the years of preparation. They notice the recognition but overlook the sacrifices. They admire the confidence but ignore the countless moments of doubt that were overcome through persistence. What appears effortless from a distance is usually built upon foundations that required enormous effort to create. Power does not move toward noise. It moves toward proven capability. It follows demonstrated value. It recognizes consistency, resilience, and execution. The moment strength comes undeniable, attention begins to shift, influence begins to gather, and the landscape around that person starts changing in ways that once seemed impossible. There is something almost amusing about watching people change their tone. Not because they suddenly discovered new information. Not because reality transformed overnight. But because they finally noticed what was standing in front of them all along. Human beings are experts at making judgments with limited evidence. They take a quick glance at someone's situation, decide what that person is capable of, and then build an entire story around that assumption. Once the story is created, they defend it as if it were fact. They convince themselves they already know how everything will end. At first, the criticism feels loud. Every decision is questioned. Every ambition is analyzed. Every mistake becomes proof that the doubters were right. Some people seem to wait for failure the way others wait for success. They watch closely, hoping reality will confirm the negative expectations they already hold. It gives them comfort. It allows them to feel correct. It protects them from having to reconsider their own beliefs. What they fail to understand is that growth rarely asks for permission. Progress does not stop because someone doubts it. Development continues whether critics approve or not. While they are busy predicting limitations, the person they underestimate is learning, adapting, improving, and evolving. Every challenge teaches something valuable. Every setback sharpens awareness. Every difficult experience adds another layer of strength beneath the surface. The strange part comes later. The same voices that once expressed certainty begin expressing curiosity. The same people who confidently explained why something could never happen suddenly start asking how it happened. The confidence behind their criticism slowly disappears. Their certainty begins to crack. Their tone starts changing because reality is no longer supporting the story they created. This transformation is often subtle at first. The criticism becomes less aggressive. The jokes become less frequent. The dismissive comments become less common. People start paying closer attention. They begin observing rather than judging. They stop speaking with absolute certainty because the evidence is moving in a different direction than they expected. Then something even more fascinating happens. Some critics attempt to rewrite history. They act as though they were supportive from the beginning. They soften their previous statements. They reinterpret their earlier doubts. Suddenly, they present themselves as believers, even when their actions clearly told a different story. Human nature has a remarkable ability to protect pride. Admitting a mistake requires humility, and humility is not always easy to find. The truth is that success has a way of changing conversations. People respect outcomes, they admire achievement, they are drawn toward evidence. Once results become visible, opinions begin adjusting to match reality. The same individual who was ignored becomes someone worth listening to. The same ideas that sounded unrealistic suddenly sound visionary. The same confidence that appeared foolish now appears impressive. What makes this especially ironic is that the person's core value often remains unchanged. The talent was there before. The determination was there before. The vision was there before. The work ethic was there before. The only difference is visibility. The difference is proof. The difference is that the results became large enough for everyone else to notice. Many people assume critics change because they develop greater wisdom. Sometimes that happens, but often they change because reality leaves them no choice. The evidence becomes overwhelming. The accomplishments become undeniable. The progress becomes impossible to dismiss. Continuing to doubt would require ignoring what is directly in front of them. That is why external opinions should never become the foundation of self-belief. Public approval is unpredictable. It shifts with circumstances. It follows trends. It reacts to outcomes. If confidence depends entirely on the crowd, confidence becomes fragile. The crowd that cheers today may criticize tomorrow. The crowd that doubts today may celebrate tomorrow. The real lesson hidden beneath all of this is that people often respond to visible success more than invisible potential. They notice victories more than preparation. They recognize achievements more than sacrifices. Their tone changes when the scoreboard changes. Their attitude changes when the evidence changes. Their perception changes when reality becomes impossible to argue with. The same critics who once spoke with certainty begin choosing their words more carefully, watching more closely, questioning less, and realizing that the person they underestimated was becoming far more powerful than they ever imagined. Most people think change arrives slowly, one tiny step at a time, and for a while that appears to be true. Day after day, nothing seems different. The effort feels invisible. The progress feels microscopic. The results feel far away. You wake up, work, struggle, learn, fail, adjust, and repeat the same cycle over and over again. From the outside, it looks like nothing important is happening. To observers, your story appears frozen. To critics, your dreams seem unrealistic. To doubters, your journey looks like proof that success is never coming. But reality has a habit of hiding major transformations beneath ordinary days. While everyone is focused on what they can see, deeper changes are taking place where nobody is looking. Skills are being developed, experience is being accumulated, knowledge is expanding, confidence is being strengthened. Mistakes are becoming lessons, failures are becoming preparation. Every challenge leaves behind something valuable, even when the reward is not immediately visible. The fascinating thing about breakthroughs is that they often appear sudden only to people who were not paying attention. The public sees one moment, they see one victory, they see one opportunity, they see one achievement and assume everything changed overnight. What they miss are the countless hours, decisions, sacrifices, and setbacks that built the foundation beneath that moment. They witness the explosion but never notice the pressure building inside the system beforehand. A single breakthrough has the power to rewrite an entire story. Because human beings tend to judge reality through recent evidence. Yesterday's failures disappear when today's success becomes impossible to ignore. Years of struggle are suddenly compressed into a few moments of recognition. The same person who was overlooked becomes the center of attention. The same individual who was doubted becomes an example of possibility. The same journey that appeared insignificant suddenly becomes inspirational. What makes this transformation so powerful is that it changes more than circumstances. It changes perception. People begin looking at you through a different lens. They reinterpret your past. They reassess your abilities. They reevaluate every assumption they previously made. The story they once told themselves no longer matches reality, so they create a new one. Suddenly, your persistence looks intelligent instead of stubborn. Your confidence looks justified instead of unrealistic. Your vision looks impressive instead of foolish. The world often behaves as though success creates value, but success usually reveals value that already existed. A breakthrough does not magically create talent. It exposes talent. It does not suddenly create discipline. It reveals discipline. It does not instantly produce strength. It uncovers strength that was being built in silence for a very long time. The breakthrough is simply the moment hidden work becomes visible. Many people quit before reaching this point because they underestimate how close they might be. They assume that because progress feels slow, nothing significant is happening. They become discouraged by temporary setbacks. They allow frustration to convince them that effort is being wasted. What they fail to recognize is that major transformations often happen after long periods of apparent stagnation. The greatest changes frequently occur just beyond the point where most people decide to stop. That is why resilience becomes such a powerful advantage. The ability to continue moving when results are not obvious separates those who eventually experience breakthroughs from those who never reach them. Persistence keeps building momentum even when the evidence is invisible. Consistency keeps strengthening the foundation even when nobody notices. Every day of effort adds another piece to a structure that may appear suddenly complete to everyone else. Then comes the moment that changes everything. One opportunity, one decision, one performance, one connection, one idea, one achievement. A single event creates a chain reaction that begins opening doors previously locked. New opportunities emerge. New relationships form. New levels of influence become available. Momentum accelerates. Attention increases. Possibilities expand. To outsiders, it looks like luck. To critics, it looks unexpected. To spectators, it feels sudden. But beneath that breakthrough exists a history they never witnessed. A collection of sacrifices they never saw. A mountain of effort they never acknowledged. What appears to be one moment is actually the result of hundreds of moments working together beneath the surface, until reality can no longer remain the same. Until the old story collapses under the weight of new evidence. Until a single breakthrough becomes powerful enough to rewrite everything people thought they knew. There comes a point in every story when the rules begin to change. Not because the world suddenly becomes fair. Not because people suddenly become kinder, but because influence starts moving in a different direction. The forces that once ignored you begin paying attention. The systems that once seemed impossible to reach begin opening. The people who never noticed your existence begin recognizing your presence. It is one of the strangest shifts a person can experience, because everything around you starts changing, yet you remain the same individual who fought through the struggle when nobody was watching. Most people underestimate the power of support until they see it operating at the highest levels. They think success is only about talent, hard work, and determination. Those things matter, but influence has always played a significant role in shaping outcomes. Throughout history, opportunities have moved faster when powerful individuals, organizations, or networks decided to stand behind someone. Doors that remained locked for years suddenly open. Conversations that were once impossible suddenly become available. Obstacles that looked permanent begin disappearing. The interesting part is that influence rarely appears out of nowhere. Powerful support is often attracted to demonstrated value. It notices consistency. It recognizes resilience. It respects competence. People with influence tend to look for evidence before attaching their reputation to someone. They pay attention to individuals who continue producing results despite challenges. They notice those who keep moving forward when quitting would have been easier. Before that support arrives, life often feels like an uphill battle. Every opportunity requires enormous effort. Every achievement demands extra work. Every step forward seems to come with resistance. You spend years proving yourself while others receive immediate recognition. You fight for attention while others naturally attract it. You work twice as hard simply to be noticed. The process can feel exhausting because the burden of carrying everything alone becomes heavier with time. Then the environment begins shifting. The same effort that once produced small results starts generating larger outcomes. The same work suddenly reaches more people. The same ideas gain greater attention. The same voice carries further than before. From the outside, it looks as though circumstances changed overnight. What people fail to see is that influence acts like an amplifier. It does not create the signal. It increases the reach of a signal that already existed. This is why moments of powerful support can feel so dramatic. They create acceleration. Progress that once took months may happen in weeks. Opportunities that seemed impossible become realistic. Challenges that felt overwhelming become manageable. The landscape transforms because the individual is no longer carrying the entire weight alone. What makes this especially fascinating is how quickly public perception changes when influence enters the equation. Many people take their cues from authority, reputation, and visibility. They pay attention to who is supporting whom. They notice where attention is flowing. Once influential forces begin showing confidence in someone, others often follow. The crowd that once doubted becomes curious. The observers become supporters. The critics become quieter. The atmosphere shifts because people naturally respond to signals of credibility and importance. Yet the greatest mistake would be believing that support alone creates success. Influence can open doors, but someone still has to walk through them. It can create opportunities, but someone still has to deliver results. It can provide visibility, but someone still needs substance. Without capability, influence eventually loses its power. Without preparation, opportunity becomes wasted potential. Without discipline, support turns into temporary attention. The individuals who benefit most from powerful support are usually those who spent years preparing before it arrived. They developed skills before they had recognition. They built character before they gained visibility. They learned resilience before they received assistance. When influence finally enters their story, they are ready for it. They have already done the difficult work in silence. That is why everything changes when powerful forces begin standing beside someone who has already proven themselves. Effort gains momentum, opportunity gains speed, visibility increases, resistance decreases. New possibilities emerge from directions that once seemed unreachable. The world begins responding differently because influence has started amplifying value that was already there, turning quiet persistence into undeniable presence, transforming overlooked potential into recognized strength, and reshaping the entire landscape around a person whose determination survived long enough to be noticed.